An exciting day today as I can finally confirm that the UK Universal Park is going ahead. It's going to happen. The UK Government and Comcast, who own Universal, have reached an agreement, and that was the last major roadblock on the way to this park getting built. So we've got a ton of new information, and in today's video I'm going to go through all of the most interesting bits and pieces, as well as the exciting concept art that's been released for the park. We're going to look at that and make a few educated guesses about what that's showing us will be in the park. So first of all of this news has come from a speech that Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, is going to give today. Normally, the press office for the government kind of announce the speeches in advance, so I guess reporters can get ready and all of the news stations can get their stories ready. So we've got a press release, and in the press release there's a few major bullet points. This, by the way, has come from the UK government, not from Universal. So they've said the Prime Minister has today closed a deal on a new Universal theme park in Bedfordshire. Plans will bring an estimated £50 billion boost for the economy and create 28,000 jobs in total across the creative, hospitality and construction industries. The park is set to open in 2031, and the theme park will form a part of a new planned entertainment resort due to include immersive storytelling, rides, attractions and hospitality. The deal firmly puts the UK on the global investment stage, delivering on the government's plan for change, which will create growth and opportunities across the country. So it sounds like the government is super positive about this. It fits in neatly to this plan for change thing. They can show that they're building the economy, that they're doing, big grand projects to try and improve the economy. And there's a few kind of cool little snippets in there that we didn't really have before. The biggest one is that the park is set to open in 2031. It obviously has to go through planning permission next, and anyone who's followed big projects in the UK before will know that this can be a thorny issue in the UK. But with the government's backing of this project, I would be surprised if a lot of those considerations hadn't already been thought about, and if the government wouldn't be sort of pushing this along a bit. I think this is listed as kind of a special project, which means it's not going to be in the hands of the local council. Instead, the main government, they're going to be the ones deciding on accepting, approving the planning permission. So I would expect it to go ahead. Obviously, there might be some changes from the concept art we're going to talk about later. There might be some things where they say, oh, you can't actually build up in that area, or this can't be that high, and things like that. So all of the stuff to do with the concept art I'd take with a grain of salt. But the most important thing is that it sounds like the project is due to go ahead. It should start construction next year, 2026, which that still sounds like a way away, but it's really not. We're already in April, so we're only talking about 8 months away, potentially, construction being able to start, which will be really, really exciting. That'll be really incredible once we have kind of the plans out and we start seeing some of this stuff being built. It's crazy that we've just had Epic Universe in Florida. We've kind of gone through this entire process of seeing a new park go from concept art to reality, and now there's people in the park riding on the rides. So now we're going to be able to do exactly the same thing, but in the UK, really close to home. And the park looks very different from any of the other Universal parks. And I think that's really exciting, that we're not just getting a carbon copy of the other parks. We're actually getting something that's a bit more unique, a bit more fresh. I'm quite excited about this. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can come up with. So there's a couple of other bits in this press release. There's a small bit from the Prime Minister where he says, today we closed a deal on a multi-billion pound investment that will see Bedford home to one of the biggest entertainment parks in Europe, firmly putting the county on a global stage. This is our plan for change in action, combining local and national growth with creating around 28,000 new jobs across sectors such as construction, AI and tourism. I think the AI bit is kind of interesting. That's an odd thing to include in this. Let me know in the comments what you think that's about. But anyway, apparently construction, AI and tourism. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe that stands for something else in this context. I don't know. It's not just about numbers. It's about securing real opportunities for people in our country. Together, we're building a brighter future for the UK, getting people into work and ensuring our economy remains strong and competitive. Right. Now, the exciting part of this, let's look at the concept art that they've released and see what we can tell from it. So this is the concept art that they've released. It's pretty cool. It looks very different from the concept art that kind of leaked earlier that supposedly was for a different Universal project that they'd been considering. This is something very different. I'm going to sort of go around and look at each different area, and I'm going to give you my impressions of what I think that they might be. I don't want to be too influenced by other sites and stuff like that because it's boring if you watch all the videos and they all say the same thing. So I'm going to go with what I think each of these areas is. Of course, let me know in the comments where you think I've maybe got stuff wrong, what your ideas for each of the areas are. One of the big things to remember with this whole image is that this is an early conceptual artist rendering. Now, I imagine this is what they're going to be putting into the planning permission application. Like, this does show you roughly where the major rides are. We had a similar thing for Epic Universe, and it's ended up being pretty accurate to what the real thing was. But obviously, planning permission stuff might change. So some rides might change designs. Some of the roller coaster layouts might not be exact how they're going to be in real life, the landscaping and stuff like that. Some things might move around. But I think this gives us a pretty good idea of what we can expect to see there. And there's a few things that we can kind of speculate on, but aren't exactly clear in this. So let's do this as if we were going to go around a park. So at the front, we've got the entrance plaza. This is pretty sort of standard for Universal parks. It looks like we've got the entrance where people will walk in. There's probably security checks around there. Then you'll be able to go in and where everybody wants to take a photo with the big Universal globe that's outside all of the parks. This building on the right, I'm not entirely sure what this is. It could be like a hospitality suite. It could be a separate shop that's a little bit outside of the park, sort of something for when people are leaving. It could be some sort of restaurant. It looks a bit like a restaurant with the way it's lit up and it's got the big glass front there. This building isn't something that I can think of that I've seen at the other Universal parks, so I'm kind of interested to see that. Then you can see over here, this will be where the turnstiles are. This is where you go once you've got your tickets. It is interesting that there doesn't seem to be an area where you can buy tickets. It's possible that that's going to be under these awnings and that's not really security. They just haven't put that in yet. Or it's possible that they just won't have people selling tickets on the gate, that you have to use your phone, because a lot of the parks were designed, obviously, before people started using their phone for all their ticketing needs. Maybe they're just not going to have the tickets, the little ticket booths and stuff like that. We'll see. It looks like there's going to be the normal VIP tours and experiences. That looks like the entrance for that. So that, for anyone who doesn't know, normally when you go to a Universal park, there's the option to do a VIP tour. It's quite expensive, but basically you go around the park with a small group. You don't have to queue for any of the rides. They'll just take you in sort of side entrances to all of the rides. They'll talk to you about the park and give you a bit of a tour, stuff like that. You also get some nice food. We've done it in the Hollywood one a couple of times. It's been really, really good. So then there's the Main Street area, and this is where you'd expect to see a bunch of shops. It looks like there's some kind of theatre here, some sort of cinema. And I think this is a real cinema because it does look like there's a massive backstage area there. So maybe that will be some kind of show back there, which is pretty cool. No sort of clues from the front as to what that show will be. Maybe it'll be something that's rotating. I'd expect there to be all sort of like accessibility things near the front and stuff like that as well. Now, one thing that's really different about this park compared to most of the other Universal parks is that this looks like a hotel. So you can see there's a big car park here and big enough for a hotel, but probably not big enough for the main park. This looks like this is the hotel, and you've got the entrance there to sort of drop off and stuff, and it actually feeds straight into the park, which is really, really cool. I really like that. The new Epic Universe park in Orlando has the Grand Helios Hotel, which is connected to the park. I think that's really, really cool. That's really exciting. We're going to be staying there in September, so I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, this looks like it's a similar kind of thing where rather than being at the back of the park, it's still at the front, but it does look like it will have its own entrance to the park. And if you're in one of these rooms facing that way, it looks like you'll have some pretty amazing views of the park. So yeah, super excited about that. And it looks like, you know, pretty big hotel for a 500-room hotel, but I'm no expert on that. So then you've got this kind of viewing platform for the lake. You've got a big lake in the middle. I always love it when theme parks have a big lake in the middle. I think it just makes them feel a lot less kind of stuffy. Obviously in England it'll probably be a little bit cold and grey, but I think it's still pretty nice. Then we'll go around to the left. We'll go around clockwise to see this. So there's a little seating area there. I assume that there's probably some kind of like food place just there. And then we've got the first area that looks to be a kind of children's area. Now, there's one of these kind of parasol rides there. There's something that looks a bit like kind of teacups or something like that, and maybe an adventure area there. I don't really get any indication of theming here. It's quite hard to tell if there's any theming, like what it's going to be. So there's some sort of dark ride there and a load of children's rides. It's going to be one of the children's things. Could be a DreamWorks type area like they've just put in Universal Orlando. But yeah, not 100% sure what that's going to be. Again, if you've got any ideas, let me know. But this does give you an indication of some of the children's rides that are going to go in. And they seem pretty classic there. Then moving around, we've got a big sort of open air amphitheatre kind of thing. So probably somewhere where they can play music. And you've got a load of seats there. And then you've got this big structure. And this is really interesting because obviously we can't tell much from a load of grey squares. Except for the fact you can kind of see some sort of like city front type bits here. And then out the back, there's this huge roller coaster. Now, when I first saw this roller coaster, I saw that kind of pretzel loop looking thing and thought, oh, it's going to be a flying coaster, obviously. But when you look at the trains, it really doesn't look like that at all. And it's got this really interesting kind of launch spike section. And it's got this launch out of here. So really interesting to think like what this is going to be. It looks like it's going to be one of the park's major coasters, one of their biggest ones. And again, let me know in the comments what you think it is. With the whole kind of city front here, I was thinking this could be a Fast and the Furious area. This could be like set up to look like a Los Angeles section. And then you can launch out here in some sort of like, you know, a drag race type thing. But then it launches you up to a spike. And then I'm guessing you're going to drop down into some sort of switch track. It looks like, to me at least, you launch out of there, go up the spike, then come back. Then you'll go up there, up this sort of inverted top hat, over an airtime hill here. Then there's another spike. Then you go back down that spike and round this kind of pretzel loop looking thing. Over here, go sweeping over the track again, and then back into the building. That's which way I think it's going to be going. But again, let me know in the comments what you think that is. It does look very different to me than pretty much every roller coaster that we've seen. Obviously, Hagrid's in Universal Orlando and Islands of Adventure does have some of these kind of spike things and switch tracks. So it could be that kind of Intamin coaster maybe. That would be a lot of fun because that ride is absolutely awesome. But it definitely looks like a proper thrill ride for sort of bigger kids maybe. You know, people like us who really love our thrill rides, this looks like it'll be really exciting. But yeah, the theme is quite hard to tell here. You know, if it wasn't for the massive roller coaster, I'd be like, oh, it's a Sesame Street area because it's super colourful. But I don't think it is. Like, I think, yeah, maybe something like Fast and the Furious, but we'll see. Then moving around, up here we've got what looks to me like a Jurassic World area. So this looks like a Jurassic World visitor centre with very distinctive roofs that we've seen in other places and loads of water there. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's that kind of thing, but it doesn't look like it has the normal Jurassic Park sort of boat ride section. That probably makes sense because, you know, it's too cold in Britain to get absolutely soaked. You don't really want something like that. Instead, it's got some little walkways and things like that. And then it's got 2 shot towers. So this could be like Dr. Doom's Fearful. Is that what it's called? In Orlando, maybe. Maybe one will be drop and one of them will be shot towers, or both of them will be shot towers. And then it also looks like there's a massive dark ride here. So I would assume that this is probably like the Jurassic World dark ride that we have in Universal Beijing. We've not been over there yet. I've been sort of staying away from spoilers for that ride, but I've heard it's absolutely awesome. And having lots of dark rides in this park seems like a very good idea for the British weather. So really excited about that does look like a major dark ride. Like you can see, it's absolutely huge, and you can see there's some of the car park space to give you an idea of orientation here. But yeah, and then there's a gift shop on the way out of there. So that looks like one of the major dark rides. Then moving around, we've got this section. Quite hard to tell what this is. There's lots of lights. It looks like maybe there's kind of waterfalls or something coming out the back here. And then going up on over to this area, this could be more Jurassic World theming maybe. Maybe a Jurassic World themed coaster. Who knows? This coaster looks a bit more like sort of a standard coaster, you know, maybe like a B&M or something like that, or maybe a bit like Velocicoaster, especially the way it goes out over the water there. I think looks awesome. It'd be really nice if we did get something like Velocicoaster. I just thought the station looks a bit more like B&M, but this is more of a traditional coaster. You can see there's a lift hill, and then this crazy drop that like spirals down, and then it swoops over around there, goes down here somewhere, up out there, then down here, dives through over the path. Maybe it's going to have one of those kind of rolls over the path, out here and then around, then back up again and over to the station. So to me, that looks like this whole big area could be a sort of Jurassic World area and then a Jurassic World themed coaster. It doesn't, again, look like a flying coaster to me. It looks like they're on top of the track there, but maybe that's just something to do with the way they're doing this concept art. Who knows? But that's really cool. I think it's a good move for them to use the Jurassic World license. There's still more films coming out. It's super popular all over the world, and it's such a cool area in all of the Universal parks that I've been to. It's always cool seeing the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World stuff. I think lots of people have nostalgia for the old Jurassic Park films, and there's lots of kids that love the Jurassic World stuff. And, you know, the fact that they're kind of reinventing it with a new cast and things like that. I think this year, the next movie's coming out, means that hopefully there's a lot of life left in that IP. Now, over here, I have seen some people suggesting a few different ideas for the show. This, to me, looks like Waterworld. Like, I'd be shocked if this wasn't Waterworld, to be honest. I've seen some people saying maybe it's How to Train Your Dragon, and then maybe that coaster could be tied to that as well. I think this looks like Waterworld. You know, you've got the fireworks, you've got big explosions, a load of water in the middle. I think, although the Waterworld IP is super old, I don't know if there's many young people who particularly care about the Kevin Costner summer blockbuster, but I think that show is a bit of kind of Universal Studios history almost. They've repeated it around the world. It's always full. It's always got a massive crowd. It's a lot of fun. I've seen it repeatedly, and I still really enjoy it. And I don't even really like theme park shows all that much. So I'd be perfectly happy if this was Waterworld. If they do something different with it, if they've just put it on this rendering to be like, hey, it's going to be a big show with water and pyrotechnics, maybe it could be something completely different. Maybe they could do a Jurassic World show and turn it into an even bigger area. Who knows? But I think this looks like Waterworld to me. I'd be surprised if it was something different. Now we've got a really interesting area. So this little bit, no one seems to be quite sure what this is. So there's a sort of dark ridey type bit there of people walking to and from. That obviously could be like a staff building. Not all of these buildings will necessarily be dark rides, but this one's themed up. Now it looks like a sort of old European style church almost. This could be a few different things. Obviously, it could be Harry Potter. It's worth noting there is no Harry Potter anywhere on this map. Nothing that's obviously Hogwarts Castle. That's making me think they're not doing Harry Potter. So maybe, you know, in an expansion in the future, maybe people were right that they didn't want to do it with the Warner Brothers Studio Tour very nearby. Who knows? I can't imagine they would make a Harry Potter area and not have Hogwarts in it somewhere. That seems like it would be a strange omission. So I don't think this is Harry Potter. I've heard some people on the Coast Force forum suggest that maybe this is Lord of the Rings. Maybe this is some sort of Lord of the Rings dark ride. That's entirely possible. It could be Shrek related. You know, Shrek is still fairly popular, and I think there's more Shrek films coming out this year, or there's a new film coming out this year. So it definitely could be some sort of storybook type thing. I'm not sure. Obviously, I'd quite like it to be Lord of the Rings, because that's a little bit different. Again, let me know in the comments what you think this building could possibly be. It's a very, very strange thing. It's got like purple looking rocks and a little bit of water, and then this quite unassuming building outside. There is a ride in the Lionsgate theme park over in Dubai, which is Shrek related, and it's kind of like you go through the story of Shrek with puppets and things like that. It sounds lame, but it's actually really, really good. It's like one of my favourite rides there. I could imagine it being something like that, sort of like a children's sort of quiet, dark ride themed around something like that. That's kind of my thinking, is this could be Shrek. But I don't know, maybe it'll be Lord of the Rings, maybe that'd be very exciting. And yeah, this building, because there's no theming, I kind of think maybe this is just a staff building. Then if we go around here, we've got a slightly brighter area. I wouldn't be surprised if this was another kids area, maybe looking at the purple rooftops and things like that. And then the big kind of dark ride here. maybe this is Minions. There's other Minions lands that have this kind of fake roller coaster type thing on the top. This, to me, I'm not sure if it looks like a real roller coaster, really. There's no sort of super obvious station or anything. Although there is a bit round there that maybe it could be. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like this could be like a Minions land. Very, very bright colours. They could have the big Minions Dark Ride in this building easily and sort of have this set up as like Gru's headquarters, factory, whatever it's meant to be. Yeah, this looks like a Minions land to me. Again, could be something different. They could combine it with other things. We've seen that a bit where in some parks they combine a few different franchises, like in Universal Japan in Osaka. They have like an area that's kind of Sesame Street and Snoopy and Sanrio, like Hello Kitty and stuff. It could be something like that, a mix of a few different things. I could easily believe that. But it looks like maybe there's like a restaurant over there, a bunch of shops, and like I said, some rides. And then we get back over here. There's a fountain there for some reason. Maybe that looks like a restaurant to me. I'm not sure. That looks like it could be like sort of a Jaws themed bit. You know, maybe they'll have the shark hanging up there like they do in a lot of the Universal parks too. But that is everything. So what can we learn from this? Well, it looks like there's at least 2 major thrill coasters. That's very exciting for me. As someone that loves roller coasters, it's always a bit of a sort of, you know, hit and miss with Universal about whether they'll have really big theme park roller coasters or whether they'll just stick to all the sort of screen-based dark rides. I'm excited to see 2 big roller coasters there. Also looks like there's at least kind of 2 major dark rides, like the big Jurassic World one over here and then maybe Minions over there. Not really sure what this is. Obviously, you can see the scale of it now. This one that I was unsure about, that it's a lot smaller than the other ones. So yeah, no idea what that is. Obviously, this building as well could be something. Could be some sort of attraction, some sort of ride, not really sure. And looks like we've got a big show. What's missing from here? I think that's really, really interesting. No Harry Potter as far as I can tell. Doesn't look like Harry Potter's in here. The people that said they wouldn't do this because of the studio's tour were right. I was wrong about that. Thank you for your comments and stuff like that. There's no Nintendo Land here. So that's kind of interesting considering they've been copying that Nintendo Land. You know, we've got one in Hollywood, we've got one in Universal Japan, they've built one in Epic Universe, the new theme park now. No sign of any kind of Nintendo Land at all here, which is kind of interesting. And then in terms of other things, there's no Jaws ride, which I don't think is a big surprise. I haven't seen something that looks like a Mummy roller coaster. Nothing like The Simpsons. Obviously, they don't own that license anymore because it's Disney. Same with the Marvel stuff, like the Hulk coaster they have. Also, no sign of Transformers, which I find kind of interesting. Transformers is something that I think is still fairly relevant. Like, you know, they've done the more recent cartoon type films and stuff like that. No sign, as far as I can tell, that there's going to be a Transformers ride in this. Obviously, maybe one of these other buildings, something like that or something like that, could be the Transformers ride, and it's just not in enough detail here. But I can't see anything that stands out to me as a Transformers ride, which is kind of interesting. So that's pretty much it. I'd love to hear in your comments. Like, this is one video where I know I always say I want comments because I want engagement and stuff like that, but I really want to hear what people think about this. What do you think the rides are? What do you think the areas are? Do you like what you can see so far? I think there's probably going to be a lot of people saying it looks a little bit small. But a new theme park with at least 2 major roller coasters and at least 1 huge dark ride and a hotel, I'm really excited about that. I think that's kind of about the size that I was expecting. And bear in mind, they have talked about developing more land and doing expansions. Like, this is just phase 1. This is just the first steps of the theme park. There's probably going to be more. So while it's not as big as something like Epic Universe, I think for a UK Universal, I am super happy. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. As I've said before, I'm not going to waste your time with pointless little updates where I'm trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. You're only going to get videos when there's something important worth talking about, something interesting worth talking about. So I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.